I would say the most glamorous moments of my life, I've been quite miserable. Paris Fashion Week. Truly, it was like really beautiful experience. There was nice parts of it, but I mean, man, I was really struggling on a personal level so much. Because you're like, I'm supposed to be okay. I have everything anybody could ever want.
We're Elisa and Lily, the mother-daughter creators of Style Like You. And after interviewing hundreds of trailblazing individuals for our channel, we've been inspired to join the conversation and ask,
what would the world look like if everyone was told from the moment they were born, don't change a thing? What a different world that would be.
This episode of Don't Change a Thing is brought to you by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is entirely online and is designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to meet your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire and you'll be matched with a licensed therapist, and you can change therapists for no additional charge.
If you're thinking about starting therapy, which I highly recommend, give BetterHelp a try. Visit betterhelp.com/don'tchange today to get 10% off your first month.
That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/don'tchange.
Hey, Mom.
Hi, Lil.
Let's hear about how it looks like your sleeve just fell off of your jacket.
Well, so this whole sleeve fell off today.
About 5 minutes before we started recording.
About 5 minutes before we started recording. And I don't care. I have to not care. And I actually think that it looks just perfectly fine. One sleeve and one sleeve on, one sleeve off.
Because you love imperfections, right?
I'm very imperfect.
I don't think I have that same level of comfort with imperfection because I would not be keeping that jacket if the sleeve fell off.
Why?
That would not feel me. But maybe I'm a slightly more uptight, controlled person. I don't know.
Or maybe it's a reaction to me.
Yes, I think I became a more controlled person in reaction to you for sure. You've always been a very free spirit and emotional and intense and wild, and maybe that made me feel out of control in some ways because you were definitely misunderstood a lot, and I decided to take it upon myself to be perfect. So that's something I work on daily, is trying to let go of control, because I lean into being more of a control freak, I think, as a response to you.
Yeah, well, I'm a control freak in my own way, just in different kinds of ways.
Different ways, opposite ways of control.
Yeah. I think a lot of this, of what we're talking about, is my hunch is that we're going to get into some of these things with our guest today, Victoria Pedretti, who we have already done a What's Underneath episode on, a epic What's Underneath episode. That episode really focused on how highly sensitive she is and her excruciating struggle with that in the world. And that's something that I very much relate to. So her episode was very meaningful to me. So I'm very, very excited to catch up with her.
Victoria is most widely known for her incredible roles in The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor, the Netflix show You, and for her appearance in Ava DuVernay's film Origin.
So I just want to begin by being mushy. I do feel very self-conscious with how sensitive I am. And when you're just talking about it so freely and openly, made me understand myself better and kind of gave me permission a little bit to not feel so self-conscious. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you. I mean, I have this weird experience of people stopping me on the street sometimes, and pretty frequently people are like, oh, that interview you did, and people talk to me about it. It's really interesting. A lot of people that don't even know my work as an actor have found this video and have, found some comfort in it. And I have found so much comfort and understanding and self-acceptance through the vulnerability that people have shown in the work that you guys have made.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So our first question today is just, how are you feeling right now?
Oh, a really nice stew of excitement and hopefulness and exhaustion. I don't know. I feel like I'm having the opportunity to grow a lot, and that is simultaneously exciting and challenging. I just moved back to New York and I'm doing a play there's been like a lot of change in my life, which I think has created a lot of like space for thinking and processing and growing personally and professionally and creatively.
Can we hear more about that? Like the growth? Like, what do you mean exactly?
Personally, I mean, I think stepping out of your life, existing in a new space, yeah, I think that kind of gives you the opportunity to like reflect and have some space away from your day-to-day life.
The same of the other.
So much sameness, you know, so much change, so much different, and so much that's requiring me to change.
Pat, I really relate to that. Like getting out of your comfort
routines
zone.
that got comfortable, that were no longer serving you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. What were some like routines that were no longer serving you that you now, looking back, were like, oh,
I really cut back on smoking weed.
mm.
I think that was like a really big one.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I still think it's like a fine thing for people to do.
Yeah.
Just for me, I kind of reached a point in which it wasn't serving me in the way that it used to.
Mm-hmm.
It suppresses a lot, right? I think it's a bit anesthetizing. And I was suddenly like, I want to be here with all of this, with everything that's happening. I want to like soak up life as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's part of why it wasn't even a difficult decision for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of like, I'm ready to like feel.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to circle back to the play and how and what it's bringing up in you. But in the meantime, can you talk about what your style is saying about you at the moment and how it may have shifted, if at all, from when we first talked to you a few years ago?
Right now, for the past few months, my style has been very defined by what I put in a suitcase and a few boxes a few months before then. It's been pretty limited, pretty repetitive. Yeah, and I think my style changes a lot in terms of just like how I'm trying to feel. I like that this is a bit see-through. I like wearing things that are kind of see-through.
Why?
I think it's a little bit of a rebellious spirit, maybe. I don't really have like cleavage, you know, but I have tits. And making them present just feels kind of like owning my femininity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't really need a bra. I don't, so I don't wear
Right. And it's so liberating.
I mean, yeah, I could wish that I had a different body, or I can just live with what I have and think that it's enough.
Yeah.
Where's the rest of your clothes?
They now have arrived to my house, but I'm still like in the process of unpacking them.
But I feel like it says something like about you to me that you aren't stressed about like unpacking or like there seems to be like maybe you're not like obsessed or attached to like your stuff like in a way that seems kind of like liberating. Like you're not you're fine without having all access to your full closet.
Yeah. I'm like, we'll make it work.
Yeah,
we'll figure something out. I also go to work and put on a costume. You know what I mean? So
right.
It's like, it doesn't matter so much how I get to and from the theater.
Is this your first Broadway show?
It's my first time doing a run this long of a play. It's my first time doing theater professionally. Now into like performance 80-something.
80-something?
Wow.
Yeah.
And how has this been different for you than what you've been doing?
I mean, it's extremely different. My performance is now like completely constructed by like me and the way I play with all of the elements on stage and the people. Usually it's kind of constructed in an edit. Even the rhythm of the scene and everything is put together maybe months even after I've done it. Also, the show is in the round. The audience is lit from the moment I get on stage. So you can feel everyone. They're like right on the edge of the stage also. So figuring out how to exist with all of that has been, and remain present, has been really challenging. I couldn't admit to myself how nervous I was at the beginning. Like now I look back and I'm like, oh, I was shitting myself. But I actually wasn't shitting myself because there just wasn't time to shit yourself. You know, you just like have to get on stage and tell the story. It felt like I was like doing it, but there was fear kind of holding me back in different ways. I've been imagining almost like a brick of ice around me that's been like slowly melting, and then certain days like a whole chunk falls off, and that feeling is like so exciting, because it speaks to just feeling like more present to my surroundings, including the other actors, and just more in my imagination, like more existing like truly in 1880s Norway, just like actually being in a state of play and flow and all of that. It's been a great opportunity to run as long as we have, to be able to do the same thing every day and watch the difference from performance to performance, and just actually like, feel myself relaxing more and more and taking more and more ownership of it. I mean, I hadn't done theater in 6 years. I had forgotten how it feels to stand there in the silence. You know, it really scared me at first. I remember having this one moment, I was like, am I going to pass out? Because it was just like silence. And I was like, I'm not getting feedback. I don't, you know, like I finish a take, the director gives me some sort of feedback. You know, there's this immediate back and forth. The audience can laugh, but there's actually something really beautiful in the silence. As scary as it is, that means everybody's listening.
Wow.
And they're being present and you have their attention. But like, oh my God, was it scary? Now I'm like, I want them to be as quiet as possible. I want them as locked in as possible. Like that's when you know something good is going on, actually.
Wow. It's kind of what you just described as literally a metaphor for life, you know, like for living. Like, I mean, when you were saying the ice just melting away, like blocks, chunks coming off, from being stiff and paralyzed in life to just being free.
And it also speaks to like a certain level of just confidence in my abilities, really. And more of an understanding of like what works and how to communicate on stage. Like the camera is so different. It can pick up on subtleties in the way you communicate differently. This language is so rich, and there's something to just like meeting every word and delivering it, like, putting the meaning on the word. I mean, I remember Sam, our director, like saying that when I was in the audition process, but now I'm really, really feeling that. It's really
like, it's like really letting go. It's really letting go.
Yeah, it is.
Is it like the roller coaster that you talked about when we talked to you a few years ago? Do you remember what you said?
Yeah,
the
I remember.
Coaster?
Yeah.
You were talking about how like everybody wants to be on a roller coaster because like fear, you're facing a fear, you're like letting go of control, you're like, does it feel connected as far as like the experience of being on stage?
Yeah, I think so.
It feels that way when you say you're standing
It's vulnerable. It's vulnerable to be there up on stage and be like, do they like me? You know? Do I deserve to be here? Why am I here? You know?
And what do you do when those like thoughts come up? Do you just keep going? Is it just
there's no point in really like sitting with them? That's why I'm like, I've been nervous, I've thought them, but I kind of just like have to keep pushing it aside and just showing up to the performance every day. And it feels like it's working. Like I'm really getting something out of it every night. I hope the audience is, you know, but I'm really getting something out of it in terms of like the ability to grow as a performer. And it certainly has many parallels to life. I feel very lucky that my work actually requires me to investigate myself.
There's such parallels because people, I know even for myself, I'm in one of those moments where every day like I have to step into fears and get to the other side. I mean, I'm always like that, but like I'm particularly like that at the moment. And that feeling of like when you said just standing there and I could pass out in front of everyone, you can feel so paralyzed in life by your fears. And the roller coaster and then doing the play and everything, you're just stepping, walking right through them. And it's the only way, right? Like otherwise you're here to be everything you're supposed to be. You know, you can't stay in front of them, right? You have to walk right through them. Like, how do you do that? I mean, I would really love to know.
I feel a sense of duty. I feel a sense of duty to the show. I feel a sense of duty to my fellow actors. I guess I feel some sense of duty to myself to keep like giving myself the opportunity to progress and grow. I feel a sense of duty to the script. I feel a sense of duty to women in 1882 Norway who didn't have the right to own property or work if they were married, you know? And I feel a duty to teachers. I play teacher, you know, who don't necessarily have the right to teach what they would like to teach because there's all these constraints put on what children are allowed to know. That really keeps motivating me to like dig deeper and purpose.
So like in a way it helps it like making it not about yourself. It can help you get through the fears.
Definitely.
I think that's big. Like really seeing that's really big, like getting out of the tiny little stories that we get into and realizing that we're all here for like bigger reasons and not these little stories that we walk around, these narratives that really keep us tight.
Yeah.
You have to like surrender. Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about that? Like leading up to that, like what was in your life, like happening and like just sort of giving us a little bit of the experience of how this appeared and like what was the context and how you walked into the experience.
I auditioned on tape first, and then I was invited to audition in New York, and so I flew myself to New York to do the audition, and then I had like 2 auditions, and it was really great. I mean, like even just working in the room on the scenes, I was like, this is really what I want to be doing, and I like really love Sam and Amy. And like immediately, it's like it felt good, and I was hopeful, but it was like really unbelievable when I got the job because this really is my dream. Like these actors are incredible, and there's so much to to take in when I'm like finally getting to the rehearsal process and like sitting back and just being like, okay, well they seem to know what they are doing.
Is that how you felt at the beginning? Like that you didn't and they did somehow?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I did not know.
They're coming from theater and you're not.
And I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot how to use, I mean, working in the round is also something I've never done, you know?
What does that mean? Sorry.
The theater's round.
Oh.
The theater is round,
Stage in the middle.
and the audience is surrounding you from all sides. It was very scary. And I was also like going through a lot in my life and just trying to like stay positive and open and I did, but I did feel incompetent, and I would have used, like in the future, I will use that time very differently because I will feel more competent, hopefully, and take a little bit more ownership of what my process is, my knowledge of the character, the script, like all of that. I think it was okay that I felt incompetent because I was. I think it was okay that I was kind of taking a little bit of feeling a little bit on the backseat, just trying to absorb so much of what was going on around me. So that's just, where I was at the time. It's frustrating now to think that I feel like I'm doing so much better in the show now than I was doing at the beginning, which what I understand is a process that everybody feels. You just make discoveries as you go on. But I couldn't be where I am now unless I'd gone through the entire process that has brought me to this point.
The metaphor's insane. The metaphor's unbelievable because, I mean, it's just life, right? Like it's because there's no perfect. Like,
yeah, maybe it crosses my mind every so often, but also I know I'm like, well, we're here now.
It's such a like surrender and such a great way to look at.
I love that word. Yeah, I've been thinking about that word a lot.
Why?
I don't know. It's just like great. Don't you love it?
Yeah.
It's like,
but it's like so hard. But maybe not.
It is, but it's I kind of do. Thank you. It's so essential. I mean, every time I go on stage, there is an element of surrender.
So how do you do that? Like, can you just explain how you do that?
I don't know. It's like
because surrender isn't like, because people I think of surrender as like giving up or lying down or like going to sleep.
Well, no.
You know what I mean?
There's so many elements of what goes on stage that I don't have control over. Like mistakes can happen, lines can be dropped. The other actors are bringing whatever they have that day to it. So I feel like you have to be receptive to whatever happens. You can't. I had this great this teacher that said this great thing, Catherine Moore. she said, hold on tightly, let go lightly. I like that as a kind of motto for being present. I mean, to be present, there has to be an element of surrender. You know, we've had really crazy things happen, you know, that we've had medical emergencies. We had a protest once. We'll spill things, you know, automated things will happen when they're not supposed to. There's a lot of I've set a fire once on stage, you know, like small fire, but fire nonetheless, you know. And so just having to take everything as it comes is really essential. And yeah, it's a beautiful metaphor for life. It's a beautiful exercise to do every night.
It's like you get to practice.
That's the craving. I can see why you'd crave it. Well, I feel that way in doing what I'm doing now. Like I it's the same thing, like just surrendering into the connection and like letting the flow happen and like all of that. And I love that. I crave and that. But also with painting, I oil paint and I'm a little tense like before I start. Like I feel like, well, what am I tense about? Like I'm just going to this class and listening to music and like painting a flower. Like, and I just think like we're just so programmed to
control.
Yeah, to control and to like and to grip and to be tight and like to not think you're creative or not think that you can flow or not think that you can expand, you know, through your fears. I mean, all these things are like things that we're sort of taught that you're just this certain way, and like it's these external things that make you okay in life, like external labels, you know, whether it's clothing, whether it's jobs, whether it's money, whether it's, you know, all these things that then make you feel like, okay, I got this, I got life, you know, instead of kind of like the opposite,
right?
Which is it's the opposite. It's the letting go. It's the receiving.
It's how you choose to treat people. I think it's how you choose to like move through the world, how you deal with conflict, how you deal with challenges. I think that that's what makes me respect myself. That's what makes me like myself. Not how much money I make or how much, you know, people validate my existence or my work.
So my next question for you is going to be like, so would you say, I mean, in my mind, like the opposite of surrendering is like kind of like resisting, sort of like control, tight gripping, resisting. Is there an area of your life where lately where you feel like you are gripping and resisting, or have recently like struggled with any grip resistance of what is, and kind of fighting against like a situation or a change or something about yourself?
Yeah, I think it can be hard to admit like how things affect you, you know, because of some idea I had about myself being like overly reactive or overly sensitive. I would, you know, kind of be like, I shouldn't feel this way about this thing. And then, you know, kind of build up just this disconnect within myself. For example, like recently, I feel like I've had the opportunity to express honestly and openly how certain things have made me feel. And that in and of itself has been super liberating, because it just, what's the word I'm looking for? It like there's an alignment.
Yeah, you're stepping into your alignment and out of the feeling that your life is going to collapse if you express the feeling.
Yeah.
Is there an example you're open to sharing of like a moment that, or a situation that you felt like you were suppressing, like or trying to downplay your feelings, and how that ended up impacting you?
There's this mixture of like caring and not caring going on, where it's like I don't care about like necessarily like when the show ends, like the applause is for me, right? Like I'm not like that exterior validation, but I do really care about the show. I really care about the show. I care about what the show's about. I really care about this character. And so I think at the beginning, to protect myself from just like the anxiety around performance, I kind of created this almost like I need to have almost like a blasé attitude about it, you know, like I just have to like show up, do the thing. But as I've taken more and more ownership of it, as I've built up confidence generally, I feel like I've also been able to admit to myself how much I care and how passionate I can be about my work, and how like ferocious I can feel about like getting to the truth, you know, that resonates with me, and like finding like beautiful moments, And I think part of why I've like suppressed that, is because I don't think there's been necessarily a lot of positive affirmations regarding the way I'm passionate about my work in working in television. It's a lot of like show up and do the job. And some of the places in which like I was like really trying to like mine for something greater, was kind of like, this isn't, working for what we're trying to do, it's not that serious. And it's like, but it is serious for me. I actually take my work really, really seriously. And I think that this space has allowed me to kind of rediscover that for myself, which is...
Yeah, to not feel like too much, kind of. Just that, I mean, when you say, I love that you say how much you ferociously care. I think that, like these are all things that we all like, you can be self-conscious about, like to care so much.
Yes.
And so to be able to be in an environment that supports that, or like...
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or to just own it regardless of whether the environment...
That's where I hope to get to.
Yeah.
The reason I am an actor is because I want to like serve the audience, it's not because of any of that other stuff that exists around celebrity. So to just like really be every day like very much in my work, very empowered in the way and being a participant in how the story is told, being able to just like very directly impact the audience also is a part of it. Television, film, you feel kind of detached.
Yeah, it's a connection. The connection is very real and immediate.
Yeah, it's like church, like you can, I don't know. I went to see Mary Jane and like I walked out and I was like, I'm different. I'm a little bit different than I walked in. And like being able to have that effect on people, even in these small ways, like, I don't know, that's such an incredible privilege.
This is why you do your craft. This is why you do what you do, is to like affect things and to change things and for people to walk away differently, not because you're, getting invited to this or that or like have a big social media following.
Yes.
Where do you get that from? That's like amazing. I have to say.
Probably my parents. My parents are really about the art that they think is cool and don't really care what's popular or, I mean, they think it's fun. Like, I think they get joy out of, like, seeing these, like, strange places that my life is taking me. But they're about, like, that philosophy of art and the, like, urgency of telling certain stories and the ability for art to, like, make a difference in the world, I mean, nobody knows who they are, they're not famous, but they produce like international mime and clown festivals and, did really important, cool stuff like in Philly, not for the sake of being on a red carpet, but for the sake of like sharing things that they believed in with audiences. Yeah, I do think that the philosophy that I grew up with was definitely like accolades could probably be distracting. Money is like for sharing, like once you can, like if you can, like or making art or encouraging other people to make art, like yeah, I am really grateful for that.
It's very inspirational because everything that we're programmed to be is the opposite of that. So I think everything you said about your parents are incredible and how much you've been inspired by them in that way, it comes through. And I think it's very inspirational because we're made to feel like it's never enough. Like what we do is never enough. It's all numbers, it's amounts, it's like, it's all these external things that make you feel okay, like I'm okay in the world, and that makes you feel okay in the world for maybe 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess
I would say the most glamorous moments of my life, I've been quite miserable.
Are you willing to share like an example?
That's the title of the video.
Like, I feel like that's so.
I love that.
I'd love to hear if you're willing, like anything more about that, just because I do think that obviously much of our culture is like obsessed, possessed by certain things that you've achieved and that you have, and like, but it's not your driving force, and like. And I think don't realize that it's not the answer to anything, to like just have the fame or the money or the whatever things.
Yeah.
So I would, if you wouldn't mind, like, I think hearing like about any moments that have like where you've come up against like thinking something was going to make you happy that didn't, that was like associated with like certain career milestones or just whatever like you just thought of as far as the
or
miserable.
just what she just
or what you just said.
I don't think I ever had like any illusions that anything was going to make me happy or that it was going to, like, I never had that expectation. But when I was at, Paris Fashion Week, truly, it was like really beautiful experience, and so much is kind of like laid out for you. And I got to work with, like, collaborate with some of my favorite artists on like my hair and makeup, and there was nice parts of it, but I mean, man, I was really struggling on a personal level so much. I had just finished shooting Bly Manor, which had been really, really hard for me. I mean, I'm glad it exists. That was really, really rough on so many levels. Personally, I was struggling a lot. I was like moving. I had been like really isolated in Vancouver. I just gotten really out of touch with myself at that time. And that was like by far like the most like glamorous experience I've had, that felt almost a bit like detached from reality. And I was just all a mess inside. I was like really, really struggling on so many levels.
And like, but was there
you're like, I'm supposed to be okay.
I love
I have everything anybody could ever want.
I'm jumping out of my chair at how important I think this is for people to hear, because to disrupt this is so important. We have to disrupt this idea of these things that we think are the gateway, like the entrance to nirvana. Yeah. Like it's that you never can get to. It's not how you get there. It's not how you get to happiness. And I think there's like so much programming around thinking that it is the way to go, and wishing that you were not in your own life.
Yeah.
And you were in these famous people's lives. But we're really, really brainwashed to think that our lives are nothing and this is everything.
Yeah.
This episode of Don't Change a Thing is brought to you by BetterHelp.
So Lily, how is therapy so far 2024? How has it been a time of celebration for you?
Not only is it a place where I get to like unpack obviously the things that I'm struggling with in life, but it also is like this really valuable hour of the week where I get to pause and also celebrate the areas that I'm like growing and look back at like where I was when I started therapy and see how far I've come in this day and age when we're moving so fast, and we're just constantly like distracted and consuming media on our phones and just nonstop momentum forward. It just is so meaningful to me to have a space like therapy where I can pause and honor the person that I've become. BetterHelp is entirely online and is designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to meet your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire and you'll be matched with a licensed therapist, and you can change therapists for no additional charge.
Visit betterhelp.com/don'tchange today to get 10% off your first month.
That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/don'tchange. Go therapy.
Yeah. You said earlier just that you're like living your dream. There's something about you that made that happen. What would you say that is?
An attitude of some kind.
Attitude-wise, take the advice that actually like feels good, makes sense to you. Like I try to stay curious and find things that continue to inspire me.
How do you deal with doubt?
Breathe. Yeah, just kind of acknowledge it. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. It's just kind of like the feelings. If you create resistance on the feeling, it just really emphasizes the feeling. Like you really just got to go, okay, I'm feeling doubt. Oh, I'm scared, you know, and then these other feelings I think start to emerge once you're able to go, okay, I'm scared. Oh, I'm also hungry. Oh, I'm also grateful. Oh, I'm also hopeful.
So when you allow your feelings, they kind of like, they cycle through like maybe faster than when you're resisting them, which is kind of like what you were saying earlier about just like stopping the like trying to push them away or pretend they're not there.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's an interesting distinction though, because you're like allowing them, but you're also not like you're not overly identifying or like clinging to them either. Like you're kind of observing, it seems, and letting them then pass through you. And it seems like that's what's giving you like the strength to show up every day and like do this, what seems to us like a terrifying thing, and be so present. It seems. Does that feel accurate?
That feels accurate. Yeah, I think so.
What's most magnetic and radiant about someone is when you're in that space, like it, and I think that's maybe what everyone is attracted to, you know, in someone on the stage or in a film, or like when someone is living their dream, like when someone is doing what they're supposed to be doing, it's so magnetizing, and so it has such an incredible, beautiful energy that people want so much for themselves, and they're like magnets, so attracted to that.
Well, I think you have to be deeply committed to the show. I think what draws people into a different reality is seeing people live very fully and wholly in it. So the urgency to just like really embrace the story and be bold and sometimes fall a little bit, you know, but still like just like totally be committed to what you're doing. I think it's about like, I think that's how you get to be like your authentic self, how you get in touch with yourself, which is so much of what like the work that you do is about, is talking to people about like what it is to try to embrace who you are as a person. Yeah, which I think like any opportunity I have to like remind myself of like how that is hard. It is a practice, you know, but it's really worth it. There's a lot of actors that I really admire who have like very much like struggled with themselves, and I've really, you know, looked up to them, and it was scary when I was in school thinking like maybe what it meant to be a great actor was to be an incredibly tortured person. And you know, this like journey towards like all of this ability to be present, the ability to be like authentic, you know, to whatever degree you have access to it at any given moment. Like I hope that we can find that actually having more of a sense of like sturdiness within ourselves and joy in the work and play in the work, it can actually like lead to like really great things for the work, no matter how dark it is. I mean, the story is quite sad that I'm telling every night, but I'm still having joy doing it. Yeah, that maybe that can be the fuel that drives us, as opposed to the darker like counterpart,
right? As opposed to this idea that you have to be in like living in your shadow and in your darkness for anything good to happen. It's like the opposite.
I have found that to be true.
Okay, shifting gears. Did you bring an outfit that might represent like another level of like shedding maybe something you want to shed, any shame or any insecurities, or and becoming who you're becoming? Anything that represents that?
It is something I found when I was unpacking that like I forgot that I had. When I saw it, I was like really just excited.
And you can, and you can like find an old part of you that you want to bring.
Yeah, you want to bring back. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, integrating yourself, all the parts of yourself, all the timelines.
So can you go get it?
Yeah.
Cute. Oh, and I love how the earring is like turquoise.
Oh yeah.
So wait, what's the story of this jacket?
This jacket is from New Mexico. I like met the person who made it. It was really cool to hear him talk about like the way he was trained, and then also like him exploring doing more abstract and fun things that exist outside of tradition.
Would you say that like having some kind of meaning or connection where you got something, or that you searched for something, or is that part of
Oh yeah,
style.
that definitely makes this really like special to me. Yeah, I think that like I think objects have like some power in them.
What does self-acceptance mean to you?
I mean, I feel like it's like literally what we were talking about. It's more up to me. When I think about it, it's about like just accepting like your feelings as they come up.
What about self-love? Is that different in your mind?
Yeah, I guess, and maybe that's a little bit more about like how you nurture those feelings. Self-love feels more like an act.
Self-acceptance is sort of like allowing, and self-love is like
What you do.
pouring into something.
Yeah, like how are you taking the time?
What's something that you've done for yourself recently that has felt like an act of self-love towards yourself?
Moving to New York, doing the hard things, having, difficult conversations, advocating for the life that I want for myself.
That might be an answer to my mom's earlier question, like how are you quote unquote like manifesting your dreams, or what does one do?
Advocate for yourself.
Yeah. Be willing to let someone else down if you're taking care of like what is right for you, like listening to yourself. It's
like listening to yourself, which is part of what I say inside like the advice thing. I mean, I think the best advice that people give all the time is don't listen to other people unless it feels like really true to you. Do what's right for you. Nobody knows how to live your life better than you do.
And you have a right to live it how you want to live it.
Yeah.
Which is, that is like, that
you
is,
have to listen. You have to really listen, I think.
that is radical self-love. That is really truly what it is. It's like, and it's not an easy act.
So
It's not easy. It's not easy. It's
not easy in an immediate way, but in the long run, I think it leads to more ease in one's life.
Leads to more ease, leads to a happy life.
Yeah.
Leads to everything. It opens all the doors.
I mean, that's a big struggle for me. I mean, I just the letting people down also piece, like that I was curious about in you. Just not pleasing everybody is the struggle that I face in life.
I see.
Feeling like I'm not going to be as safe in the world if I don't make sure everybody likes me at all times. I know intellectually that that's not tenable, but that's like the thing that as a kid I did and worked, and as an adult cannot continue to do.
Being rejected is so painful. It's so scary. I relate to that.
Yeah.
Like and I've been trying to force myself to do that thing of like saying how I actually feel about stuff, and the sensation in one's body.
Yeah, it is.
Certainly in my body.
Yeah.
Like my heart like about to like fall out of me, being like,
You're gonna
and then
leave.
so often the response is, oh.
Right.
Like
Exactly.
imagine somebody's gonna be like, ugh,
Right.
disgust, rejection, like
Abandonment.
yeah. And yeah, if that, and then like if that is the reaction, like
Bye.
bye. But still, it's
hard.
It's still hard, and it's still scary. And I've been really trying to practice that in my life. I find that like for me in my more like in business relationships and like all of like it's in my closest relationships. Some people it's the opposite. They find a lot of acceptance within their closest people, and then like but to the outside world, it's harder to like show up as yourself. Like mine's definitely the opposite. Like I feel like I'm more easily like able to like advocate for myself.
Yeah.
But it's in my closest relationships that I really, it's
I think
so
I-
scary.
I-
I'm like actually
yeah,
feel it a
having
little bit in my
anxiety.
body right now.
Yeah. I have it the opposite. I think I have it worse in the business. And like that's the thing that I have to work on if I'm gonna like be the leader that I want to be and like do the work I want to do and make it grow. Like you can't appease everyone at all times.
If you construct your whole life for never there to be any discomfort or disruption, then you're going to be really small and tight and angry and frustrated. Yeah, it's impossible, really, if you want to be your whole self.
Yeah.
You can't like cut off those parts and like curl up. You have to just be, and then you have to deal with the earthquake inside of you that feels like the whole world is going to come out from under you if you just express a feeling or
A need.
and you got to go.
Has learning to advocate for yourself and like be willing to maybe like let someone else down if you're being true to yourself, like something that you've had to work on? Did it come naturally to
I think like growing up with a disability, I also like started learning how to advocate for myself, like, and understanding that I had like even like a difference that I had to acknowledge and express and communicate to people. Like, as hard as that was like did grow me in that way.
Meaning your sensitivity.
I have ADD. Yeah. I barely graduated high school, barely graduated college, but I did.
And what's your wildest dream for yourself?
My wildest dream? I don't know. I'm living it all the time. My life is far beyond my wildest dream.
And the last question is, what would you tell your like younger self, whatever age comes to mind, to not change about who they are?
Oh, like the passion. Like, don't be blasé about shit. That's not, even though it seems like it's what's cool, like being passionate and excited about life, about people, about art, about food, about, everything is actually really gonna fuel you.
Well, we're taught that it's like cool to be like chill
Or like repressed or like, or I mean, just that it's kind of like being
Some people just
ferocious.
might not be as intense,
That's
and they don't understand it. But you don't have. Not everybody needs to understand it. I think that just kind of like has to be okay. I think when the last time I was here and I was talking about the roller coaster, I was so much thinking about like actually going on a roller coaster. I mean, I was telling that story in part because I rode on a roller coaster. I was thinking about things like climbing, because I started like doing some like bouldering, which was like quite frightening. But now like I'm really thinking about that, about what you're talking about. Like it's really about that anticipation, that moving towards your fears of expressing how you actually feel about things
and not losing love.
and trying to
That's
speak
the
from a
real-
place of vulnerability. Yeah, like allowing yourself to remain mushy within all of it,
close off.
not close off. Yeah.
Get into protector mode.
Not be able to receive and to come out from under that pattern of feeling like you have to protect yourself.
Yes.
And
Maybe shut down sometimes.
yeah, protect yourself and shut down and like just understand that you'll still be standing like you were saying on the stage. Like you'll still be like, just let go. You'll still be standing and do it because you're here for you to be you. Like it makes no sense. Like it makes no sense any other way anymore. I think most of us understand that now.
It's actually so important that you own it, like for the example is being on stage, like if I'm up there just being insecure, everybody's going to feel that. Then the audience has to take care of you. And that's a waste of everybody's time and their money. It is my job to entertain people. It is my job to own everything that's going on that stage. Like you have to, I had this clown teacher who like really emphasized the urgency of being like, you gotta own it. You gotta relinquish you have to be a whole ass human being up there. You can't be thinking about looking cute or like anything.
And
You're
getting
telling the
approval
story
and
or how the audience
disturbing
feels.
someone else who might not like what you're saying or feeling.
Yeah, you gotta own it. And that's how the silence has become more and more okay, because it's like, I'm like, I've got this. Don't you worry, guys. I don't necessarily need the constant feedback, Just like as a person, like constant need for like constant validation. There's so many parallels, man. It's really great job.
The parallels are insane because when you're saying that it's your responsibility to not be insecure on that stage, it's the same thing for life. You can be so much more to everyone in your life when you don't give a shit and you take care of yourself and align with yourself and be your whole fucking person. And that's it. The chips fall where they fall.
And still be receptive and surrender to what's going on around you, because who knows how somebody's going to receive it? You still don't know. Maybe sometimes we will be rejected, and trying to breathe through that and
It's
allow
okay.
for that. Yeah. To be okay.
It's okay because
Not every performance is great.
and also it's okay because all you can do is control yourself. Like, we've been given this feelings.
And keep trying.
Yeah, we've been given these choices. Why would we choose insecure over secure? We're here to find ourselves and feel secure with who we are.
But we also know why, because it's uncomfortable. It's
Right. It's
wildly uncomfortable. We're talking about earthquakes. We're talking about feeling like the world's going to end.
total.
You know, like
Yes.
that's a really good.
It's
really
brave
good
as
reason.
hell. And I think that's why getting on a roller coaster, which is, I still haven't been able to do it. I cannot, there's no way. But
Well, she got on a Ferris wheel because
I got
of
into
you.
Ferris wheel because of you.
Really?
I was like, I'm doing it.
I love a Ferris wheel. Did you like it?
I was good. Yeah, I was good. And I was like, I said, I'm good. I'm doing this.
But I'm ready to take her on a roller
But these
coaster.
things are all just symbols. They're all symbols for the hardest thing, which is to be yourself and let the chips, however the reaction is, whatever the approval, disapproval, whatever the external factors, whatever earthquake happens inside of you that makes you want to like fall down or feel like you're going to fall down. They say in The Untethered Soul, he goes, let go, don't fall down. You're not going to fall down. Like, you're just going to let go. And it's the same with the roller coaster. It's the same with standing on the stage. It's the same with stepping into any of your dreams.
Yeah. Thank you so
Amazing. I can't wait to see the play. And it's just exciting. It's exciting to like grow together. It's exciting to find your, I don't know, connection. When we share, we talk honestly, we connect from our hearts, that we can heal each other and that we're all each other's healers. So I think that's like the biggest secret of all. So I'm just grateful to you for that. I'm very inspired by you. Yeah.
Thanks. I'm really inspired by the work that you guys do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being on the journey. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of Don't Change a Thing with Victoria Pedretti. We hope you got as much inspiration and wisdom from what she shared as we did. If you want to watch more episodes of Don't Change a Thing, they come out every Thursday on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to hit subscribe so that you're notified of every time we drop a new episode.